The Inheritance of Loss, by Kiran Desai, book summary. Chapter 1. The novel opens with a description of the house Cho Oyu, where the main character, Sai, lives with her grandfather, a retired judge. The chapter sets the scene and introduces the characters. Chapter 2. Sai wakes up to a beautiful morning and is excited to begin her day. She spends time with her tutor, Noni, and reflects on her own identity as an Indian of Nepalese origin. Chapter 3. The judge receives a letter from his estranged son, Biju, who has left India to work as a cook in the United States. The judge is disappointed and disapproves of his son's choices. Chapter 4. Biju's story is introduced in this chapter. He works in a restaurant in New York City and struggles to make a living. He dreams of returning to India but knows that it is unlikely. Chapter 5. Sai goes to visit her friend, Lola, who lives nearby. Lola is a wealthy girl who attends a private school in Darjeeling. The differences between Sai and Lola's lives are highlighted. Chapter 6. The judge reminisces about his past and reflects on the changes that have taken place in India since the country gained independence. Chapter 7. Sai attends a dinner party with her grandfather and meets Gyan, a Nepalese student who is studying in the area. They are attracted to each other but are aware of the cultural differences between them. Chapter 8. Biju's experiences as an immigrant in New York are further explored. He lives in a small apartment with several other Indian men and struggles to adapt to his new surroundings. Chapter 9. Sai and Gyan spend more time together, and their relationship deepens. Gyan introduces Sai to his political beliefs and the idea of creating an independent state for Nepalese people. Chapter 10. The judge recalls a time when his house was robbed and reflects on the violence and political unrest that have plagued India's history. He also considers the challenges that Sai will face as she grows up and navigates her own identity. Chapter 11. The judge receives news that his cook, whose son is a member of a Nepalese movement seeking independence, has been arrested. The judge is torn between his loyalty to the government and his sympathy for the Nepalese cause. Chapter 12. Sai and Gyan's relationship becomes more serious, but they struggle with the cultural differences between them. Gyan becomes more involved in the political movement, which puts a strain on their relationship. Chapter 13. Biju's experiences in New York continue to be challenging. He works long hours in the restaurant and lives in a cramped apartment with other Indian immigrants. Chapter 14. The judge is invited to a dinner party with the local elite. He is uncomfortable with the pretentiousness of the guests and feels out of place. Chapter 15. Sai and Gyan's relationship begins to deteriorate as they struggle to reconcile their cultural differences. Gyan becomes more involved in the political movement and is arrested. Chapter 16. Biju reflects on his experiences as an immigrant in America and the racism and prejudice he has encountered. He also thinks about his father and the strained relationship they have. Chapter 17. The judge receives news that the cook's son has died in police custody. He is deeply affected by the news and reflects on the violence and unrest that have taken hold in India. Chapter 18. Sai spends time with her grandfather and reflects on her own identity and the challenges she faces as a young woman in India. Chapter 19. Biju's boss, Saeed Saeed, is arrested for tax evasion, and the restaurant is shut down. Biju is left without a job and struggles to survive. Chapter 20. The judge receives a visit from a British woman named Mrs. Saunders, who he had previously worked with as a judge. They reminisce about their past and reflect on the changes that have taken place in India since colonialism ended. Chapter 21. Sai and her grandfather have a conversation about her future and what she wants to do with her life. Sai expresses her desire to continue her education and become a teacher. Chapter 22. Biju struggles to find work in New York and is forced to take a job at a factory. He reflects on the harsh realities of immigrant life and the challenges he has faced. Chapter 23. The judge receives a visit from his old friend, Father Booty, who he had not seen in many years. They reminisce about the past and discuss their shared love of literature. Chapter 24. Sai receives news that Gyan has been released from prison. She is excited to see him again but is also apprehensive about their future together. Chapter 25. Biju's life takes a turn for the better when he is offered a job as a sous chef at a prestigious restaurant. He is excited about the opportunity but is also aware of the sacrifices he has made to get there. Chapter 26. The judge receives news that his cook's daughter has been killed by the police. He is devastated by the news and reflects on the violence and unrest that have taken hold in India. Chapter 27. Sai and Gyan attempt to reconcile their relationship but struggle to find common ground. They ultimately decide to end their relationship and go their separate ways. Chapter 28. Biju's experiences as a chef at the restaurant are explored in greater detail. He struggles to balance his ambition with his desire to stay true to his roots. Chapter 29. The judge reflects on his own life and the choices he has made. He also thinks about the legacy he will leave behind and what it means to truly inherit something. Chapter 30. Biju reflects on the sacrifices he has made to achieve success and wonders if it has been worth it. He also thinks about his father and the strained relationship they have. Chapter 31. The judge receives news that he has been selected to receive a prestigious literary award. He is excited about the opportunity but is also aware of the challenges he will face. Chapter 32. Sai begins teaching at a local school and is excited about the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of her students. Chapter 33. Biju's boss, Saeed Saeed, invites him to dinner with his family. Biju is excited about the opportunity but is also aware of the cultural differences between them. Chapter 34. The judge attends the award ceremony and reflects on his own life and what it means to be a writer. He is also aware of the challenges that face India and the world as a whole. Chapter 35. Sai becomes increasingly disillusioned with the education system and the challenges that her students face. She also reflects on her own identity and what it means to be a woman in India. Chapter 36. Biju's experiences in America come to a head when he is beaten by a group of white men. He reflects on the racism and prejudice he has encountered and wonders if he will ever truly belong. Chapter 37. The judge receives news that his house has been robbed. He is devastated by the loss but also reflects on the impermanence of material possessions. Chapter 38. Sai receives news that her grandfather has died. She is devastated by the loss but also reflects on the lessons he taught her and the legacy he has left behind. Chapter 39. The novel concludes with a reflection on the nature of inheritance and what it means to truly inherit something. The characters' stories come full circle as they reflect on their past, present, and future. Please like, share, subscribe our channel for more book summaries.